Hey, Flosstube friends, it's Christine from Hollishands Create. Today is Sunday, January 8th. This is Flosstube episode number 43, and this one's going to be a WIP parade. I hope everyone is ready to buckle in. I'm going to try to go through things fairly quickly today. I don't like to have super long videos, but I wanted to come on and talk about what's been happening in the last 3 weeks. My last video was, I believe, December 18th. So I did better at getting back a little quicker, even with the chaos of the holidays and the start to the new year. But here I am. So I hope everyone had a fantastic Christmas, New Year's. We did. It was kind of a crazy time. We had a few little mishaps. My daughter Savannah flew in from Seattle. Her flight was delayed, I guess, about 3 hours, so she got in at like 2 a.m. And unfortunately, her luggage did not make it with her. She came in on it was the night of the 22nd, ended up being early morning 23rd. Her luggage never did make it. They were going to send it out, but Seattle ended up with ice storms. So she was a little bummed because she had all Christmas gifts and things like that, and no clothing. So we had to head out to do some shopping for her to, even to have things like underwear, right? So that was not fun because then you're out shopping on like almost Christmas Eve trying to find clothing and things like that. So that was a little crazy. And then we had tickets to see the Seattle Seahawks and the Kansas City Chiefs play here. And so she needed like warm clothing. And so anyway, it was kind of crazy scrambling around, but it was great to have her home. And so then we did go to that game. We were totally bundled up because we had sub-zero temperatures here in Kansas City for about 5 to 6 days. And we left to go to the game on Christmas Eve because it was, Christmas Eve game on Saturday. And we left around 11. We came back about 4 o'clock, 4:15, opened the garage door, and there was water pouring from the garage ceiling. So we'd had a pipe burst while we were away. So that presented a few challenges because it's Christmas Eve and like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and getting hold of a plumber and insurance people and things like that was a little bit onerous. But, electric tea kettle, we headed right out, bought as many big gallon jugs of water as we could. And, you just kind of make do. It's a little bit like camping, right? So, but we had heat, we had each other, we had a lot of things to be grateful for. So, we did spend about 4 days without water. But that's okay. That's all right. And the Chiefs won, so I was happy about that. So, anyway, so it was kind of, a bit of an eventful holiday for us, but I hope no one else had any crazy challenges like that, and that you got to spend time with family or friends or however you wish to celebrate your holiday. So I'm going to go over just kind of the odds and ends things today, and then I'm going to dive into my WIP parade. I've never actually done a full WIP parade before since I've been doing Flosstube, so I'm kind of anxious to do this. But first, I had a couple of questions from the last video that I wanted to kind of go through. Dodie asked, can you stitch 1/2 on 32 count, or do you have to use 2? You do not have to use 2. And I use as a great example His Eyes on the Sparrow and Consider the Lilies that Beth Twist from Heartstring Samplery designed. She did those on 28 count linen using 1 strand. So, it depends upon what look you're going for. Do you want something that's kind of, maybe primitive or antique-y looking, where maybe, it looks I don't want to use the word threadbare, but a little more sparse in the coverage. It depends on how you like to stitch with not only coverage, but also the linen itself. If you're using a 32 count, that's a really, kind of a tight weave, one strand is going to be great. But if it's a really loose weave and you want a tighter look or coverage look, then use two threads. If I'm using two threads, I will say that I do tend to railroad. And railroading just means that when you go, you come up and then you're going back down, you put your needle between the two strands so that it actually separates them, making them lay straight, and hence the, kind of like railroad tracks, right? They're going parallel to each other. So that I do that. It takes a little extra time, but I just like the way that the stitches lay, and it just looks a little cleaner to me. When you do have two threads, a lot of times you get a little more needle twist, so your two strands can twist together, and so you want to you're like having to lift your project and let your needle hang and untwist and things like that. So it does present a few more challenges. But if any of you have been stitching for a lot of years, gosh, I remember, back when I first kind of started stitching, we used 3 strands on Aida. So it's just something that you kind of get used to, personal preference. But thank you for the question. I hope that helped. The next thing, I did have someone ask me if I was going to be joining in on Brenda's SAL. Brenda Sawicki, who is Brenda Sampler Stitcher on Instagram, and Brenda and the Serial Starter from Flosstube, is having a big birthday on January 16th, and she turns 60. And Tanya from the Scarlet House designed or reproduced a antique sampler that Brenda loved, and it's Martha Evans. And it is an absolutely beautiful sampler. And so she's released that specifically for this stitch along to honor Brenda. I do have, I did get a copy. Obviously I have copies for the shop, but I did keep a copy for myself. I'm still kind of on the fence. I have so many projects, as you're gonna get to see here in just a little bit, and I'm not going. I know that I'm not going to just start that thing and start stitching like crazy. I'm not going to interrupt kind of what I was wanting to do necessarily, and I'm a little hesitant to just sink some stitches just because, and then put it back in a bag and not touch it for quite a while. So I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about it. I would like to do some stitching, in honor of Brenda, but I just haven't fully decided yet. So right now I'm kind of leaning towards no. Okay, let's see. What else has been going on? I have been watching a few WIP parades. I have been very remiss in staying up with my Flosstube. We have been in the middle of inventory. We obviously had family here, for Christmas. Then we had some friends who drove through from Colorado and stayed the night. So I just haven't been doing a tremendous amount of watching Flosstube. And so I've just kind of, in the last couple of days, kind of gone back, hit my subscription button to see who all I've missed. And it's been mostly WIP parades that I've been watching. I did just watch Christy from Crosshatch Quilts. She's my good friend. And then I watched Lisa from Kindred Stitcher. She just released hers. It came through last night. Both of those ladies, I feel like I stitch a lot of the same types of things, the same kinds of projects. And so I just find a lot of inspiration. So later this afternoon, while I'm still working on my inventory for the shop, I'm going to queue up some more and do some more, WIP parade watching, because I just, it's so great to kind of just see what everybody's doing, and you just see some projects that are kind of cool. Let's see. Let's go through, and I'm going to I have a tiny bit of haul, but I did want to show, let me grab a board here. Sorry about that. I did order, if anybody watched, well, and I know you did because they have tons of people who watch them, Brenda and Laura, when Laura kind of showcased Cedar River Linens, which is Jody, who's Trixie Tricycle, if you follow her Flosstube or her Instagram, has started a linen company called Cedar River Linen and Design. Cedar River Linen and Design. And so she had her big release, it's over here, of her new linens. And I jumped on board, and because when there's a new linen dyer out there, I do like to order in some of their linens and just kind of see, you know, what they have. I typically order neutrals, so I'm not usually too concerned. You know, some people are like, oh, I like to see them or I like to feel them, that kind of thing. It's Zweigart base. I know what Zweigart base feels like. It's a neutral, even if it, you know, is something that I'm like, oh, okay, you know, it's not going to be something that I'm probably not going to use, because there's so many different shades of neutrals that you can utilize for different projects that I know I will use it. It's it's not like I was ordering something that was, you know, red or that kind of thing. If it was maybe a red or whatever, I might want to actually see that first or do a floss toss on it, something like that. But I ordered mostly neutrals. So I thought I would show those. I did order one particular that I really seemed to like a lot when I was looking online. And this one is called Overcast. And I'm gonna kind of show it. I ordered both 40 and 46 count. Okay, so this is the Overcast, and I put one of the other linens behind it just so that you could kind of get an idea of the modeling and the color that's in there. And I think it's really a beautiful color, kind of an aged look. So I think it's going to work really well for some upcoming sampler projects that I would like to stitch. Isn't that pretty? So that was Overcast. And then I'm going to hold these others. One is Albarium. I'm not sure how people come up with these names. And the second one is Tephra. Again, I ordered both of these in 40 count. This is the Albarium. And the one behind is the Tephra. Can you kind of see that? You can see what happens when the camera adjusts the light, but that's pretty good right there. So I'm gonna put those into my stash, my fabric stash, and I have a couple of drawers that are just for all my neutrals, and I'm excited to try one of those. Guess it means I have to plan a new start. Okay. And then the only other thing that I really, just kind of perusing on, and I don't remember if I got this through Amazon, or I think it might have been Amazon, eBay. I like to look for old books and things like that. But anyway, I got one of the Whitney Antiques sampler books. And I was really excited to find this one. This has got some really cool, it's called a Schoolroom Exercise. It's a rare collection of needlework samplers recording the school, institution, or teacher under whose instruction the sampler was made. And, you know, it goes through and just shows some examples of samplers and gives the information about that, talks about the variety of stitches that might have been used, the skill to execute the work, just some really interesting information about different samplers. Look at this. Look at that one. That's really cool. Love this cartouche down here, but that is just an awesome brick house. So some really cool things to look at. So anyway, I picked that up. And other than maybe a bit of quilting fabric, that's about it. You know, when it's Christmas time, I kind of have a hard time buying this kind of stuff for myself. So that's it for haul, just a tiny bit. Now, of course, you're going to think, wow, she doesn't need any more haul when we get started with this. So let's do this WIP parade. I've got 3 ginormous stacks here on the table. I did not do any ironing. I literally was pulling these things out late last night. I think I finished up about 2 o'clock this morning, and kind of trying to get them sorted, and just, I hadn't opened up some of these bags in a while, which is a little shameful. But anyway, here we go. I started 2022 with 42 WIPs and ended with 44. Doesn't seem like I did a very good job getting rid of some WIPs. The problem was I ended up with several new starts that I actually started from start to finish. And so they didn't deplete, they didn't add to my WIP pile in that specific vein, because I did finish 12 things, which is, you know, 1 a month. But anyway, so my focus was not very good on finishing existing or older WIPs. And so this year I intend to try to do that. So I'm going to kind of show you. I've got some that I don't know why I haven't finished them. You know, we all say that, right? Though we love them. We don't know why we haven't finished them. And then we put them back in our bag. So we'll see how good I am about doing this. Anyway, so I'm going to get started. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of start with my winter and Christmas themed projects and show you where I am. So this first one, which if you've been watching me for a while, you know what, I have been working on this one. This is Let It Snow banner from Stony Creek. I have to kind of back this one up because it is almost done. So I'll kind of show you by section. So there's your top. And then the middle vignette, or whatever you want to call it. And then the next one. And then the bottom one. And you can see where I am too, down here right at the bottom. So I need to get this finished. It's ridiculous that I have not finished it. Because as I just showed you, this is what I have to finish right down here, this last little thing. You can kind of see this one. So, let's see what I can do about getting that one finished. And I believe I'm stitching it on 28 count mushroom Lugana 2/2. And next, this is another one that I've shown and talked about ditching, but I have not chosen to do that yet. Lantern Lane by Little House Needleworks. And I didn't even pick this up this year. And this is what I have so far. Just work on the house. And I still don't have plans to probably stitch on it right now. Next, my one and only Mirabilia is Miss Christmas Eve. I think she's just lovely. here is my progress. Isn't she beautiful? I guess I should say, isn't her dress beautiful? I was told by the people that I was stitching this with in the beginning that you should do the skin last. I don't know, that's why, but anyway, so there's her dress. Her dress is beautiful. So that's Miss Christmas Eve. Now I have, like, you know, one Mirabilia. I also have one Hade, which is a Heaven and Earth design. And the one that I have, and I just have the printed front page, I didn't pull everything out, is the Mini Enchanted Reindeer. And there's my progress. And I believe I'm actually about, when I was looking last night, I think I was like on page 14. So this is about 13 page finishes. They are really cool, these Heaven and Earth designs. I need to get back to this one. I want to be able to say that I actually finished a Hade. And mine's only a mini. Okay, what do we got next here? Okay, so last time I was talking to everyone and showing the projects that I put into my basket next to my sewing chair that would be things that I wanted to pick from if I came in, sat down, and said, okay, what do I want to stitch this evening? Well, I did do that, and I stuck with that. But one of the things that when I pulled out some of my projects, I remember, if you'll remember, I had someone asking me questions about Christmas Garden. And I'll show Christmas Garden, Blackbird Designs. This is in the Home for the Holidays book, which you can still get. And I was completely inspired by Lisa Smith, Kindred Stitcher, her conversion that she did. But I was having difficulty really liking the rosewood color silk that I had chosen for the conversion. And when I showed that to you last time, I had all of that in there still. But I had mentioned that I had just ordered some new Gloriana silk, and it did arrive, and now I've forgotten the name. Poinsettia, that's what it was. I had ordered this poinsettia because I had ordered hollyberry. It was just too bright, didn't like that. So I worked on a motif when the poinsettia arrived. I put it in here on this basket to see if I was going to like it. And I do. I loved it. So what I did was I went back and started picking out all of the motifs that had the rosewood and replacing them with poinsettia. And after I had done this basket, I went over and did some more of this to get a little bit larger section of the red to see if I was going to like it, because I didn't know if it was going to be too stripy, but I really do like it. So I'm very excited about it. This one has been rescued out of my, I don't know what in the world I'm going to do with this now, I don't like it, pile, and will be getting some love. And it is staying in my basket for January as one that I want to, keep working on. I have my basket that I I think I've shown this before. My basket that sits next to my stitching chair. I belong to the Cross Stitch Nation basket. This is from 1803 Ohio Farm Baskets. And I ordered mine in 2020. So this is what sits next to my chair. So I had emptied it out so that when I got to the things that I still want to keep my focus, I could just drop them right back in that basket. So the next one, still in the Christmas and winter theme, is The Old Winter. And I'm sorry, it's still my black and white working copy. Because I did show this 3 weeks ago, so I'll just give a quick little view for maybe some who didn't watch my video 3 weeks ago. But, you know, if you didn't, that's okay. Maybe you're watching this one, you're watching for the first time. I hope that you'll find some inspiration and want to join me again. So yesterday at Stitch Club, which I go to Stitch Club at Coulter Station in Lee Summit, because I'm in the Kansas City area. And my good friends Lenny and Roberta, who also have a Flosstube, and their Flosstube is the Sable Stitcher. It was originally Roberta, and then Lenny joined her. So now there's the Sable Stitchers. They, at the table, were talking about, oh, they, you know, got their stuff together for the Old Winter. And I was like, oh, I'm stitching that one. And here's so on. So we were talking about where to start. And I had said that I had put my antlers up high where I wanted it so that I, you know, because you want to place it on the linen so that the body is, you know, where you want it here. So the only thing I have to do on top of these are the little candles, but I had kind of counted those up and measured. So there's my Old Winter. This is by the Primitive Hair. This is so stunning finished. When I see Isabella at market, she always has all of these models in her room, and when you walk in, it's just so inspirational to see them, and they're beautiful. The last time my husband went with me to market, we walked into Izzy's room, and he says, ooh, why don't you stitch that one? And he's pointing to the Old Winter, and I'm like, well, I kind of am. And he just looked at me. I was like, okay, I got to get it out of the WIP pile. I know. So, all right. And I believe this is my last one that's in kind of the winter and Christmassy type season. And this one is Hannah Tingy, or Tingy, however you want to say that. 1823. It's from the Scarlet House, antique reproduction from Tanya at the Scarlet House. This is the one that has the reindeer with the big eyes. You can kind of see their big eyes. And I had started this, I think 2 years ago at Thanksgiving with my good friend Christy from Crosshatch Quilts. And there are several other people, I'm pretty sure, who are also stitching it. I'm gonna put this one on a board so it's easier. And these are not ironed. I am sorry about that, but with 44 WIPs to show you, I just didn't take the time to iron because I would have been ironing all night long and no sleep. Here's my progress on Hannah. Now, I did just show this one, I believe, also 3 weeks ago. So I have not picked her back up in this last couple of weeks. I really just did more focusing on the Christmas garden and that fixed to that silk. And as you'll see here in just a bit, Harriet Goddard and one other one, I believe. And since I mentioned Harriet, I'm going to go ahead and show you what I've done with Harriet. She also can look a little bit like kind of a Christmassy type design or sampler, but I don't really think, I don't know, maybe she is meant to be Christmas, but I was working on her actually well, I picked her back up Friday night, just a couple of days ago. I did not stitch at all this last week, except for a little bit on New Year's Day. And then we had orders to get out the door from the sale we had last week, and then inventory. And so we were working until pretty late at night, working on the inventory and getting orders out and things like that. So I didn't pick anything up until Friday night, and that was Harriet that I had picked up. And when I last showed you Harriet, I believe I was just right here. So I had to put in this little motif, these little flowers, her age and year, name, and all of this. So this is where I am with Harriet. So I'm making some progress. Let me just show you real quickly. Here is Harriet. So I am just finishing up the lowercase alphabet that goes right into here. Then I just have the uppercase alphabet and I'm finished. And I stitch in hand. This is on 40 count baby sheep from XG Design. So I am liking Harriet. So Harriet, I'm going for a finish on Harriet. Hope to have her done actually in the next few days, because I'm still enjoying stitching on it. I'm not going to put her away. So just to have to bring her back out and, you know, do a few stitches, I'm going to get her finished. So there's Harriet. And then the other one that I was working on, if you'll remember, I showed you a couple of new starts that I had ready to go that I was going to be getting ready to go. And one of them was Poinsettia and Pines, which is a Blue Ribbon Designs. There we go. Gotta see that. I really love this. And it's an older design. This is from 2007. But every time someone would purchase this from the shop and I would have to pull it, I was just like, oh, I really love this design. And it just finally, I was like, you know what, I'm going to kit it. And so I talked about that at my last video. And I actually did pull some linen. This is it's a Seraphim linen. It's winter woolens. And I'll show this to you. Just put it on the board real quick. And I started this one on the 26th of December, so the day after Christmas. And there's my progress so far. You know, this all goes really quickly. These were a little time consuming doing the poinsettias, but aren't they so beautiful? I really, really enjoy stitching on this. So I'm really happy with that progress. So that was a new start on the 26th of December. So of course I had to carry it into 2023 as a WIP. So it is what it is. That one's going to also stay in my focus basket. And I believe that takes care of anything Christmas and winter themed. So let me show you what else is in my basket real briefly. And that one is my Sunday stitch, because it's going to stay in that basket all year long. And that one is the His Eyes on the Sparrow by Heartstring Samplery. This is a big project. And stitching this one on Sundays with my good friend Christy. We had taken a break for a little while through the holidays, and now we're New Year and back at it. And here is my start, or my progress so far. I'm stitching this on 40 count Affogato from Fiber on a Whim. And I am a lower right-hand side starter. Occasionally old school a middle start, but for the most part I am, with samplers and things like that, a lower right hand. Not very many of us out there, I think. It just seems to be easier for me, for some reason, because I'm right-handed, to have all of the linen, if it's going to be a big project like this one, this is on a fat half, kind of pushed to the left where my hand is on the right, and I don't have anything bunched there. I don't know why that just seems to be more natural for me and easier for me. And we want our stitching to be enjoyable, right? So that's how I do it. So that one is also then in my basket. So that's what I'm stitching on. That's what's in my inspiration basket for January. In February, I will be pulling this next one, which I started last year on the 14th, which was Valentine's Day. I just worked on it, I think, on Valentine's Day only, and that is Mrs. Campbell. I think she's so beautiful. It's from Hands Across the Sea. I love the heart-shaped border. So this one's gonna come into my basket in February for sure. I have a tiny little start because, again, I just stitched on this for Valentine's Day. I don't know if you can kind of see that border, but see how it's kind of an intricate little stitch. Kind of like a chain border. Really pretty. And I'm stitching this one on Shadows, which is kind of a grayish type linen. It's a 46 count. And this is, I believe, from Victorian Motto. Some linen that I had in my stash from when I used to be part of the Victorian Motto Linen Club before that whole thing kind of imploded. Okay, I'm gonna kind of keep on with the seasonal stitching a little bit. My next one is Easter Parade, which is in my beautiful little bunny basket that was made by Nikki from Nikki's Notables. Easter Parade from Blackbird Designs. This was a hugely sought after pattern, and then finally Barb and Alma a couple of years ago decided to re-release it because people were paying just buku bucks for it on eBay secondary market. No, I have already stitched the basket, and now and there's the bunny. So I will probably pull the bunny into my focus basket next month as well. Maybe March, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I want to give some love to the Easter bunny. Okay. Now this is another one that I kind of stitched in the spring because to me the colors have a very springy feel. And this is another also large project, and it's Inspiration from Rosewood Manor. It's really beautiful. I used to see this model when I had gone to Tulsa a couple of times to the Silver Needle. And every time I would pass it, I was just like, oh, that is so impressive to see. So I finally started it. And there's my start, my progress. Hopefully you can see that. I'm sorry, it's a little wrinkly. But there you go. And the colors are very, you know, springy with the pinks and the greens and the lavenders and little, you get little robins. There's a little robin, you know, little birds that are in the middle. You can kind of really see the colors there a little bit better. So again, this is one that I kind of really only pull out springtime. Then we proceed on to some patriotic. Believe it or not, I do not have a lot of patriotic stitching. And the main reason is, if you've been following me or watched my Flosstube for any length of time, you know that each year I do one of the Plum Street historical samplers, the Rhode Island style sampler that Paulette designs. So for the last 3 summers, I start that on Memorial Day with the goal of finishing by Labor Day. So I haven't started much of anything else, but and I'm not sure what I did with oh, I know, this was actually released in a book just recently, In Full Glory, and so I made a working copy to throw into my bag. I try not to work off of the Blackbird books, live books, because I want them to stay in good condition. And I don't have just a huge start, but it's also not a huge project. And it's just the house I've done. And I'm stitching this one on Sand by Picture This Plus. And again, just a, you know, just a small. So that one shouldn't take too long to finish up. And then the only other one that I have that is patriotic, and I started this on New Year's Day last year, and that's Let Freedom Ring, Leela Studios. This came out in 2017. Isn't that gorgeous? Of course, my husband's from the Philadelphia area, and we lived in the, one of the surrounding counties outside of Philly for 14 years. And so we've been down to see Independence Hall and the Liberty Bell and all of that numerous times. And my kids, you know, every road history class, field trip, things like that, were of course always to all of the things down in Philadelphia. So anyway, so this was my New Year's Day start. Not just a whole lot. So that one needs to get some love. I do have already a project that will be for, you know, this summer's patriotic stitching from Paulette. So, but I don't know if she's going to have another one for next year. So if she does not, then my thought is that will be my replacement project from Memorial Day to Labor Day. Now, I'm not saying I can finish it because it is a big project, but that I think will be what my focus, you know, my focus is. And that'll be a good way to get it done, because I really do some intense stitching during that time period. Okay, so next, let's move right along here. The next one that I have is also from Leela's Studios, and it's the Halloween Quaker. I love this little tiny town down here. Isn't that cool? This one is one of my absolute favorite Halloween bags. I love this fabric. And let's see. Some of these are on stretcher bars frames, so I have to kind of be careful here with what I'm doing. And there's my progress so far. And I believe My card is not right here, but I'm either stitching this on Murky or Haunted. I can't remember. But it's definitely a picture of this plus fabric. This is another one that I really would like to have it be a focus piece for this year. Next, Halloween Eve from Blackbird Designs. I really love this one. And there's my progress. I'm stitching this on 36 count Weeks corn silk. So I love this one as well. Now, this one has only been being stitched on the occasional Dark 13, which is the 13th day of the month, when I remember it's the 13th day of the month and to get out my dark stitching. So that's all I've ever stitched on it, is a few of the 13th. And next up, still in the Halloween and fall portion of the parade, is a Gold Tide Welcome. I'm such a huge fan of Paulette's designs from Plum Street Samplers. They just speak to me. They check all the boxes of everything that I love. This one was a start with my friend Becky from Who's Socks for Mum. If you follow her, watch her Flosstube. We started this one together. This is on Bee's Knees, which is a Seraphim fabric. And we're using the NPI silks, the called for NPI silks. Don't you love that border? So pretty. So pretty. Okay. And then next is the Gather In. I started this one in 2022. And this one probably should have been ironed. I'm apologizing in advance because it's really wrinkled. I never cut the fabric down that I chose to start stitching on. And so it's a big chunk of fabric, but there is my progress. Isn't that a cool design? But look how big that barn is. It is huge. It's a lot of stitching, and then you got that grass going all the way over. So it's definitely a lot of fill-in stitching. So that's my progress on the Gather In. Again, just a beautiful design from my good friend Paulette. This is another teeny tiny, this was a kind of a whim. I have wanted to stitch, every time someone shows this, I was just like, oh, why am I not stitching this? And then I had bought out from the estate of a stitcher. They had contacted me about buying her what was left in her estate up in Iowa. I had done that. And in the stash was one of the old printed versions of Autumn at Hawk Run Hollow from Carriage House. And I thought, well, you know, now I have the pattern. So I started slowly kind of collecting the NPI silks, because I am doing it in all NPIs. And when I I kind of finally finished purchasing the last of the NPIs that I needed, I just immediately was like, oh, well, let's join in with all the Friday night stitchers, the ones who are, Friday at Hawk Run Hollow, and jumped right in. But then, I don't know, the next Friday I didn't do anything. And then I made an error because I'm stitching on 46 count and it's really tiny. And I made an error, and so I was like frustrated and, oh, good grief. Let me see if I can get this clipped up here a little better for you. And when I folded it away, I did not do a very good job of getting that crease out of there. But there was my tiny little star on one Friday evening. Isn't that ridiculous? You can barely call it a start, and then I have to pick out some of it already. So, I don't want to give up on it. And Christy and I talked about that we don't want to give up on it the same way with like His Eyes on Sparrow. You have to put some stitches in, right? Or you're never going to finish it, obviously. So anyway, I've got to come up with a plan for getting some work in on this. I think my problem is, I was talking to someone else, is I pick all these just ginormous sized projects to stitch on. And so it just takes forever and ever to get them done. So I just either need to quit picking bigger projects or stitch with my feet and my hands or something. I don't know. My next one, which was my birthday start this last year. You've seen this one if you've been watching me in the last couple months. This is Autumn Fractor, Plum Street Samplers. And I stitched on this for almost like monogamously for a little while. Ooh, again, this one's been folded. I had taken this with me to Italy when I went in November for my grandbabies, to see the grandbabies, but I never even got it out. And there's my progress. Autumn Fractor. This is going to get finished this year for sure. This is definitely going to be a focus piece that gets finished. Because I love it, and I want to have it framed and up for this fall. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And I believe, I don't have my little card right here, but I'm stitching it. Oh, there's all my threads, mostly Gentle Art. And I believe I'm stitching this one on a 46 count. I believe it's also a Seraphim fabric. I have to look and see what my card says. Okay. Trying to make sure I don't have a collapse. This also was a tiny little start. This was from when I belonged to the Kindred Spirits Club. That was a Dying to Stitch club that they ended up, I only was in it 1 year and then they disbanded the club. But this was George Decorates for Martha. I love that house. And a good fall design, and I'm a happy camper. It's kind of my favorite thing to stitch. Again, I got this one, did a start on it, then was not sure if I loved the fabric, so I kind of stopped. This one may get new fabric. There's where I am. Not much, but you can see that pumpkin doesn't really pop very much on this fabric. And you would think that it would, because I believe what was in the kit, to look here real quick, was Winter Brew. Or maybe it was, yeah, I think it was Winter Brew. And I don't know, it's just something about it was not like, I just wasn't ringing my bell, I guess. So I stopped. So this is one that I'm gonna have to kind of figure out, but I love the design so much, I'm not going to ditch the project. I just may have to pull a different linen for it. Okay, only a couple more of these. Let's see, we're at 54 minutes. I need to pick up the pace. Several, and I will say, the main reason I have so many WIPs is mania, and I will not do a mania again. I did a full mania in 2019 and a 23 start mania in 2020. It's stressing me out. But this wasn't one of those mania starts. Primitive Hair, the Spell Store. And stitching it on one of Izzy's linens. I believe this is Old Salem. I'm gonna need the board. It's a 30 count, so otherwise you'll be able to see right through it. And that's my start. So this was a mania start, so it got that 1 day's stitching in May. That's it. This one could also be restarted on another linen. It's a 30 count linen. I just don't enjoy the bigger holes, smaller count linens. I just don't. And I believe this is my last one. Oh gosh, the chart. I must have left the chart upstairs when I was pulling these all out last night. If you're familiar with Cross-Eyed Cricket, they have the seasons and the monthly designs, and I had started autumn. And it just is the word autumn with little motifs around each letter. I apologize. When I was pulling these out last night, I was trying to open them and pull charts and things. I must have set the chart down upstairs. So that's all my start is on autumn from Cricket. So that's my fall and Halloween stitching. Okay, so last, I have my samplers or just general subject stitching. Oh, nope, I apologize. Here's one more that was from the Patriotic. I guess it had fallen off the pile, or I misplaced it. Again, this was another Dying to Stitch kit from the Kindred Spirits Club, Grace on Thee, which has since been released to the general population. This is a Plum Street sampler. And I think all I've done is work on building the house a bit. So there's my start. Not a lot. I've put on some mortar. You can see the mortar down there without the red brick. But that's it. All right, put that back into my Patriotic section. Okay, so back to the samplers and or general subject. So many people did this. It was a huge, huge, huge project whenever Brenda decided to do the Coming to America project to celebrate the 400th anniversary of the Mayflower arriving at Plymouth Rock. And I wasn't going to stitch this, but I did participate. My shop participated in the project, and so I kind of felt bad having the shop participate and then not stitching. So I did start it. So my Mayflower did not arrive. We were all supposed to finish, I think, by September, a date in September. My Mayflower's still floating around in the Atlantic. So there it is. I think what I may do is finish off this upper portion, add in this lower thing, and condense it, and then finish it off that way. So that was the Coming to America. You cannot get this. It was a one-time situation. from Brenda. And there it is. Okay. Next, this is an old one, guys. Oh, I started this, I believe, in 2017. The chart is from 2008. This one is the Little House Neighborhood from Little House Needleworks. There, can you see there? I moved more into the corner because I'm facing windows, and to keep the glare being so bad on my glasses, it's still kind of bad. And, you know, unfortunately, if you wear glasses, it is what it is. But I'll show you my... This has been folded for quite some time, so it's got a big old crease down the middle. But there is my progress on Little House Neighborhood. There's no needle in there. I just pull my needle wherever I happen to be sometimes. And so there's a thread hanging, but there it is. All right. Apologize for taking a little time by putting these things back, but when you've got like 44 projects out, if you don't put things back where they belong, I'll end up with a mess. I'll have threads in with things that they don't go with, and who knows. This was another Mania start, Live Simply. This is from With Thy Needle and Thread. And Living Simply, I just have a simple start. That's it. It's a pretty one. And it's not really big. It shouldn't take that long to get it finished. I just need to make it a focus piece, and then I think it'll get finished that way. Okay. Next. And I apologize if feels like I'm zipping right through these things, but I just don't want to, I don't want to keep you forever. This is a sampler company, Brenda Keys. This is the Contented Mind sampler. I absolutely, Brenda Keys and the sampler company is one of my all-time favorite designers. And I just love this. Now I do have the border stitched all the way around on this one, which I don't normally do. But I actually have a decent amount of progress on this one. Look at the flowers. I'm just going to zoom in here a little so you can see those flowers. Aren't they beautiful? And guys, I'm stitching this all with DMC. It's gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Really love that. This, again, is going to be one of the ones that comes into my basket here pretty quick as a focus piece. Quite a few, let's see. There's my ring of DMCs. You can tell I was a bobbinator for a long time before we ever even started doing anything with thread drops. Okay, not too many left, guys. All right, thanks for sticking with me. This was another Mania finish. This is Faith of the Heart with a needle and thread. I absolutely loved the saying, God finds a low branch for the bird that cannot fly. That's what really drew me to this particular piece. Now, again, it was a Mania start, so tiny, tiny start. Just some of the house. Not much to show. This one is a Scarlet Letter. This is Sarah Brown. You can kind of see that. This is a memorial sampler that Sarah stitched for her brother Joseph. And my brother passed away when he had just turned 49 from liver cancer. And when I saw this particular memorial sampler, it just, the colors and everything kind of drew me to it in thinking about my brother. So here's my progress. I love everything about this. It's a beautiful sampler. It's not a common sampler. I've had a couple people who have seen it who are like, I never had even seen this before. But it just kind of spoke to me with the fact that she had done that for her brother. Another sampler that should really become a focus piece as well. Ann Thomas, 1854, otherwise known as Walter, because everybody refers to this guy as Walter. It's an absolutely beautiful sampler. And I am stitching mine. We were doing Walter Wednesdays and got completely away from Walter Wednesdays. I need to reach back out to Becky and see if she wants to get back to doing Walter Wednesdays. I'm stitching mine on 40 count chocolate milk, which is a hand dyed by Steph linen. And there's Walter. Isn't he beautiful? I really love this. Of course, we say that about all of them, right? We really love them. But he is beautiful. So there's Walter, aka Ann Thomas. Another Mania start, Fractor Flowers from Lottie Da. And again, not a very big start. I am stitching this. It's a Picture This Plus fabric, which is a 36 count Ren. This is really in its Picture This Plus wrinkles like the dickens if you've got it folded at all. So there's my start. Again, this was a Mania start. Fractor Flowers by Lottie Da on 36 count Ren with the called for floss. Next I have when Nicola started putting out the little gems. This is one of the first ones, and this was Sarah Spencer. And I liked the idea of a smaller stitch and having, you know, small, maybe not a wall of them, but maybe a section of like smaller, you know, samplers. But I didn't get super far. It was a lot more red than I thought it was. But it is pretty. So there's Sarah Spencer. And then kind of like my one Hade and my one Mirabilia, I have one Long Dog. And I have shown this one off and on. And it is Paradigm Found. And course, this is just my black and white because I just, you know, I did this, purchase as a download. And it's a monochromatic design anyway, so it wouldn't really make any difference what color you know, tried to print it in, because you probably would choose your own color anyway. I keep this because it has so many pages just in a binder. And the thread that I chose was Current from Gentle Art. I'll show you that. Which is a beautiful color, especially for a design like this. This is my corner. And for quite some time, I was doing one thread in the morning and making some really great progress. So I need to get back to that. I need to actually leave this one out and have it be my one thread in the morning stitch. And can you see that variation in the color? Really beautiful. Really, really beautiful. So that's my one long dog. Should everybody have one long dog? One short dog? Okay. My daughter picked this up, and I think she got it at, I don't know if it was a shop or a flea market or who knows, but she definitely didn't pay much for it, and I don't even know where the little sticker that came from, where that store is. So, but anyway, this is Catch the Wind. It's a butternut road. It's an old pattern. Catch the Wind. And she thought that I should stitch that for the girls. So while she was here, I did make a valiant attempt at a start. I have a hard time stitching something that somebody else wants me to stitch. Anyway, I don't even know which way this goes. I think like that. That's my start. And it appeased her. I will go back and actually stitch this. She wants to have it in the girls' room. Okay. Coming up towards the end here. Quilting Bee from the Blue Flower. This was one of Jeanette's very first designs at her very first market. And again, this is one that I just love, but I made an error in this and it just completely derailed me. So I stopped. So I'm gonna have to go back and figure this out. You can see I actually have almost the whole body done, but I've got to figure it out because I made a counting error and I'm off by one stitch in the design. And with all of these triangles and everything else, you can't be really off in this design. So that's why it's not done. So I've just got to go back and figure it out because I love it and I don't want to not stitch it. Not to mention that my good friend Becky, see how this is laid on this, I believe it's a tulip pink fabric. So Becky made the bag. Isn't that cool? So how can I not stitch that? Just got to figure out the problem. Okay, this was another Mania start. Birds of a Feather, the Bitter Flower sampler. And this one also should be a focus for this year to get it finished. There it is. It's not a huge design. I should be able to get this one finished if I put it in as a focus piece. Bitter Flower sampler. For our anniversary last year, I started this one, Where My Heart Blooms, which was an old loose feathers pattern from Blackbird Designs that I bought when it came out. It was like 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. And it sat in my stash for quite some time. And then I finally decided to pull it out and stitch it for my husband and I. And that's all I've gotten to. So another one that I need to get finished. All of these need to get finished. And another Hands Across the Sea. Miss Marianne Bourne's. And I think I had originally started this with Lori, who was going to be doing a stitch along. And it was a stitch along that her son, I think her son, Jacob, because he loved this. And I forget the name of the thing that he wanted to call it. But anyway, here's my progress on the beehive. And it's a very cool design. I was going to look to see if I have, it has a whole lot of DMC threads, which I keep in this little pouch. And I'm not seeing the project card. I thought I had the project card in here, but I may not have. This is it's on a Q-snap frame and in a big project bag. I don't know what I did with it, but anyway, it was, like I said, it was supposed to be one that we were doing a stitch along, and then I think the whole thing kind of petered out. And here's an old one. I believe this is my oldest WIP. I started this in Pennsylvania before we left there. And again, from the sampler company, this is the floral sampler. And that is a lot of stitching, people. It is no joke. That's all solid stitching in there. The only thing is not stitched is just what's around the flower urn in the center. But it is a beautiful one. And here is my progress. Isn't that pretty? And I believe, yeah, it stops right there. So again, one that needs to be pulled out as a focus piece, because I believe I've been stitching it. I think it's been in my, oh golly, probably since like, I don't know, it's got to be 10 years old, is my guess. Okay. Then I have, oh, that one's bagged to one of the others. Okay, and then berry bowl sampler. I had originally, we were gonna stitch this with a friend from Texas, who then she decided she just wanted to stitch the whole thing rather than switching sides. So it kind of lost a little bit of its importance for me. But, you know, I do love the berry bowls. So at some point I will probably just go in and finish it for myself. I went ahead and stitched the, you know, the two sides together. I don't have, it's just 22, so it's got a, it can have a 2 or 3 or 4, who knows. But there are the two sides. This was put out by Tanya from the Scarlet House and Beth Twist from Heartstring Samplery. They tell the story that they were, I think, at market and on the elevator, and heard somebody saying, why does everything have to have berry bowls in it? And they, on the airplane back to the West Coast, decided, well, they would just stitch a sampler that was nothing but berry bowls, just being a little bit ornery. So, and 2 left. I'm so sorry, it's 1 hour and 20 minutes already. Oh, this one I am bringing up the rear. Our lasting friendship. This is the ladies from Stitch Club. We decided we wanted to stitch this one. May this be the token of our lasting friendship. And I know Lenny and Roberta and Susie maybe has hers done. And Kay has hers done. I believe Ginger and I do not. So here's my progress. I just need to get it finished. I did not put the year in. So there it is. But I'm still their friend, even though I haven't finished our friendship sampler. They still let me be their friend. Okay, last but not least, because this is also going back into my focus basket, is the beautiful Jane Cowie. Is she not gorgeous? This is from the Scarlet House. And this, I had just shown this one, so I apologize. Some of you probably have already seen it. But this is my progress. Ugh, that was a fail. My progress. Isn't that gorgeous? I'm stitching this on 36 count bush tee, which is a linen from a good friend of mine who's in Australia. We've done quite a bit of stitching together. Jay from Jay's X Stitch. You can find her on Etsy. She's got gorgeous hand-dyed linens, and does still ship to the United States. Okay, that's it. That's all she wrote. And you're like, thank goodness. I'm glad you're done. There's my WIP parade. First time ever I've done a full WIP parade. It was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. When I pulled out my baskets and everything last night, I was just like, oh, good gravy, do I really want to know? It was not as bad as I thought. There were a couple of projects that I scrapped in going through. There's a couple that I'm going to pick new linens, and kind of as I was going through, I'm like, no, I still love this. I do remember this is why I stopped, so I'm going to address that and get them back into, an active WIP pile. But it was not, like I said, it wasn't quite as bad as I thought. I have a lot less wants, because when you do a new start, it's a want. You want to do a new start. I have a lot less wants this year. My want is to get these things finished. So I do have a couple things kitted because I know that I'm gonna make a couple of new starts. But I'm gonna keep my focus basket. As I finish something, I'm gonna pull something back out from, a WIP. I am gonna keep a couple of the new starts, ready to go for whenever I do want to follow that rabbit or chase a squirrel. And so I'm gonna do that just because that's what I want to do. I think that works for me. So last thing, thank you so much if you've stuck with me throughout this whole thing, are the giveaways. I have already messaged the person who won the 2023 Book a Days planner for this year. And that was Dee Ellis, and I believe she may have even already responded. So I'll get this right out to Dee. Thank you so much for participating, everybody. If you participated, wanting a planner, and congratulations to Dee. So I hope she loves it. And I have two new ones that I'm going to, these are not new. I had two unclaimed from prior giveaways. I've not really had that happen before. So I'm going to, for this time, we're just going to redraw because I could not, for some reason, because it was, I don't know if it's because it's on prior videos or something, but I literally could not get the URL to go into the random YouTube comment picker. So we're going to just start fresh. And the two that are left are the Gold Collection. What's the name of this one? It's a Santa's Feathered Friend, and it's the Gold Collection Petite. Here, can you see that? Isn't that pretty? Of course, that's, you know, a full kit. And then the Mill Hill kit, which was for the sunflowers. This is from the Buttons and Beads, so it does have all of the beads and everything. Again, this is on, yeah, a perforated or painted perforated paper. And floss needles, chart, everything is in here. So if you're interested in either of these, use the word gold in your comment for the Gold Collection Petite Feathered Friend, or sunflower in your comment for the Buttons and Beads Mill Hill kit, sunflower kit. And we'll get those, hopefully, you know, this time someone will respond, and I'll get those sent right out to you. Dee, I'll have yours out in the mail tomorrow. The shop is going to hopefully open on Tuesday. We are closing in. We had that sale, that 3-day sale, the 28th, 29th, and 30th of December. And I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who participated in that sale. We set a sales record every single day, and I was absolutely floored. It went really well. We did a 3-day escalated discount. So we started with 10%, then went to 15, then went to 20 on the last day. And it just seemed to go over really well. And so we had almost 400 orders to get out the door really fast before we could start the inventory. But we were cranking along. We did some things last year to make inventory easier for this year. And now we're making even a few more improvements for next year. I'm hoping to open back up on Tuesday. In the meantime, I've done a lot of reordering, so I have some things ready to get loaded back into the shop. We got a new box of Fox and Rabbit linen in, so that's all in the shop now. Waiting on a couple of orders for some other things, but if you're still wanting to hop onto the Martha Evans bandwagon to stitch for Brenda, that one is in the shop. I've actually sold out of the first order, got the second order in, so they're there ready as soon as we open. And what else did we get? We got the new things from Paulette, the Christmas Mini Moon and Yuletide delivery. So, you know, we should be fully stocked and ready to go as soon as we get open. And like I said, I'm hoping that we can finish everything off and be open sometime on Tuesday, maybe Tuesday night, who knows, but that's the goal. So thank you so much. If you stuck with me, I apologize that this has been an hour and a half. But I enjoyed going through my WIPs. I wasn't so totally distraught thinking I had, you know, uber amount, like 60, 70, 80 WIPs. I don't. I, on the other hand, have a ton of kits. And at some point, I may do a series, you know, like a two-part deal to show, you know, some kits and things. And I may go through and I may even give away some of those kitted projects. You know, you get so many of them sometimes from retreats and things like that. And then I kind of know at some point I may never really stitch those. So that's kind of on the horizon. My plan is to go back to these focus pieces that I showed you and work on, get some stitches in on every single one of them for the rest of this month. And thank you for hanging with me. And I hope that everyone has the fantastic start to the new year. Welcome 2023. And take care. Happy make sure. That didn't make any sense. Make sure you create every day. And happy Sunday, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.